New York is one of those cities that everyone knows, even if they never been there. Every corner feels like a movie scene, and every street has a story to tell. You could spend weeks by exploring it. But what if you have only 3 days? How do you make the most out of it? And is it even worth crossing the Atlantic Ocean for such a short trip? My name is Tommy, and I spent the last few days with exploring Manhattan's best spots and squeezing in as much as possible. Join me and see what you can really experience just within 72 hours in the city that never sleeps. So we just landed in New York. We landed at JFK, which is actually one of the largest and the busiest airports in the US. From here, there are several ways to get to Manhattan. Shuttle buses, taxis, but we chose one of the fastest and cheapest option, the train and subway combo. With this option, we got to the city for just about $12 and in under 1 hour. A quick tip, I highly recommend getting the 7-day unlimited Metro card. It costs $34 and you can take the subway and the buses as much as you want. By the way, we stayed in Manhattan since it makes getting around so much easier. That alone saves you some time. Of course, New York isn't exactly cheap, but we found a place for the four of us just right next to the Empire State Building for just $45 per person per night, which is a pretty amazing deal. Happy New York!
Happy New Year!
Egészség! The trip was pretty exhausting, but there was no way that we would skip Times Square on our first night. Here we are, and this place was called Times Square only in 1904 when New York Times opened its office here. All the buildings, it's a must to have the LED lights and the advertisements around. They are never turning off the lights. The only time it was in 1942 when the Americans were scared of the World War that they might bomb the place, so they turned it off. Anyway, while you're walking here in Manhattan, anywhere you look, you're gonna see something famous or something iconic here, so everything is super close to each other. Today we're gonna start at Staten Island, and the ferry to Staten Island is completely free, and on the way it's gonna be a wonderful view at the Liberty statue. But first, when in New York you have to try a good bagel. The city is famous for them, and for a good reason. Not the cheapest breakfast, but definitely worth it. So, the ferry departs from Whitehall Terminal and it takes about 30 minutes to cross from Manhattan to Staten Island. I wouldn't say that it's really hot in here right now, but it's really worth it. It's extremely beautiful. And really, we have a great view on Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty. By the way, Gustav Eiffel also played a role in the construction of the Statue of Liberty. Yes, that Eiffel. Initially, it had a copper color, but over the years, oxidation took over, giving its iconic green color. On Staten Island, we didn't spend any time. We headed straight back. From here, we made our way toward the Brooklyn Bridge, a scenic 20-minute walk along the East River. Walking across the bridge itself is an absolute must-do experience. The bridge was built in 1883, and this is the world's first steel-wired suspension bridge. And actually more than 600 people was working while building it, and many of them died, just like the original designer of the bridge died. So the son had to finish actually the works. And if you're already here in Brooklyn, this spot is the spot where everybody's taking picture of the Manhattan Bridge. After we did our pictures, we grabbed a few drinks at a bar in the Dumbo district. And have I ever mentioned that New York isn't cheap? I mean, a beer averages around $9 to $10, and let's not even talk about whiskeys. After a good drink, we headed back to Manhattan and made our way to Wall Street. By the way, I would like to mention that if you're looking for the Charging Bull, it's not actually at Wall Street, it's at the Broadway, and it's about an 8-minute walk from Wall Street. On the way, we came across the Trump building,
and Trinity Church, which is one of the oldest buildings in New York, originally built in 1698, but the version we see today is actually the third one, which was completed in the 1800s. Fun fact, this is the resting place of Alexander Hamilton, the first US Secretary of the Treasury, whom almost everyone knows from the $10 bill. Finally, we arrived at the Charging Bull, the famous Wall Street Bull statue. It was created by an Italian artist, Arturo Di Modica, who founded the project himself and secretly installed it overnight in front of the stock exchange in 1989. It is believed that rubbing its nose or horns brings good luck, but
everybody wants to take a picture with the balls of the bull.
Anyways, from here we made our way to the World Trade Center Memorial. Where the Twin Towers once stood, now there are only two enormous voids featuring North America's largest man-made waterfalls.
I have to say today we've done everything we planned so far, so that was a very nice day, and let's continue it tomorrow.
So, we are starting our second day with the lung of the city, the one and only Central Park. So the park opened in 1858 and it looks like a natural forest with hills, but let me tell you a secret. It is completely man-made and it is not small. I mean, it's almost 3.5 square kilometers, so it's actually bigger than Monaco or the Vatican City. We walked for about 1 hour and visited Bethesda Terrace also, which, by the way, was designed to look beautiful in every season. After, when we were done with walking in the park, we took a bus to the Trump Tower, where we also stopped for a quick coffee. Even though this building was built back in 1983, it still remains one of the most famous skyscrapers in New York City. And this one here is a very funny building. And after that we continued walking along on the Fifth Avenue, which is one of the most iconic streets in New York, filled with luxury stores and landmarks. For example, here we have St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is one of the largest neo-Gothic churches in whole America. Right across from the cathedral is the Rockefeller Center, and just a short walk away you will find Grand Central Terminal. So this is another iconic location and not just an ordinary train station. The ceiling inside features a star map, which was accidentally painted backwards.
So this clock here is worth over $20 million because it's made by a really rare opal.
From here, it's worth walking to the New York Public Library. You might also recognize this place from movies. For example, The Day After Tomorrow was filmed here.
We're here at the public library, and the fun fact, these two lions, they actually have names. One of them is Fortitude and the other one is Patience, and they named them like that in 1930 when there was the big economical crisis, so they wanted to give some hope to the people.
After sunset, we visited Hudson Yards, one of New York's most modern districts. Here you will find the vessel and the entrance to the High Line, which is a former elevated railway transformed into a beautiful urban park.
Just look at that, what a little cute pigeon. Very small.
And finally, we ended our day in Chinatown. Here, everything feels like stepping into another world, and of course, the food is incredible.
So this is our last day here. We already checked out from the hotel, but before we're leaving New York, we cannot miss checking out a skyscraper. So right here behind us is Empire State, but we decided to check out the Edge. Anyway, a fun fact about Empire State Building. Did you know that it was built in 1931 and more than 3,000 people were working on it? And actually they finished it within 410 days, which is impressive.
However, the Edge is relatively new as it was built in 2020, and the entire experience feels futuristic.
These lights are pretty awesome.
The elevator takes you up to the 100th floor in just 52 seconds. The observation deck is actually 335 meters high, making it the tallest in the United States. Plus, there is a section with a glass floor. It's not very big, but it's still pretty cool to stand on it and look down. Well, since we already seen one of the newest skyscrapers here, it would be a shame to miss one of the oldest ones.
And this building behind me is Flatiron, which was built in 1902, and it was one of the first skyscraper of New York City. Even though it's not that huge right now because it's only 22 floors, but still it's a very iconic place.
The name Flatiron comes from its shape, as it looks like an old-fashioned iron. Not far from here, we couldn't miss another legendary movie location, the Ghostbusters Firehouse. This place is actually a fully operational fire station to this day, officially called Hook and Ladder 8, and it has been in service since 1903. And since we were near Canal Street, there was one place I absolutely had to visit as a content creator, which is Broadway 368, Casey Neistat's iconic office. This is the place where countless legendary vlogs were filmed and inspiring so many people with his videos.
So I think we're making a full circle because we started at Times Square and now we're finishing here at Times Square.
After a quick hot dog, we headed to Newark Airport. And the bus station is actually right here in Times Square. And if you want to squeeze in some last-minute shopping before leaving, the Jersey Gardens outlet near Newark Airport is a great choice. You can find some really good deals here. A cheap bus from the Times Square takes you there, and from there is just a short Uber ride to the airport. So the big question in the end, was it worth visiting New York for only 3 days? And my answer is absolutely. Of course, it was exhausting, but still we managed to see a lot. So even if your time is limited, just go for it. I guarantee that you're gonna have a lot of fun. But before we made it home, something happened that we never expected. Halfway across the Atlantic, our plane turned back. So, if you liked my video and you would like to see more travel content, then don't forget to subscribe, give a like, and just leave a comment and tell me if you would go for a trip to New York for only 3 days.